Hey there, members of the Graveyard, and welcome to our 6th video in our Monster Hunter Wilds Weapon Guide series, where we will be discussing the full scale and scope of the Gunlance. We are 9 days out from the launch of Monster Hunter Wilds, so for the next 9 days, I'll be releasing a weapon guide every day, giving you a full weapon breakdown, discussing the general game plan, and tips for every weapon. This will be accompanied by a hunt against the Doshaguma with commentary about my thought process on how to use the weapon to its fullest. Quick disclaimer, all the footage you are about to see is from the beta, so if you found this video after the official release, worry not. That means everything in this video is still applicable. I'll be keeping an eye on any major changes happening to these weapons, and if there are any big changes after the release, I'll just be re-releasing these weapon guides for any weapon that received significant changes. If there's any small changes, I'll probably leave them as a pinned comment. Now, one final thing that I can't stress enough, I really can't stress this enough. This video is not for finding out what the best and strongest things are to do with the weapon. This is not about developing a meta. This is not about developing optimal routes or anything like that. This is a video that covers and explores everything that has to do with the weapon's functionality and how to use them and how to come up with our own conclusions and our own play styles with the weapon. Now, with that being said, let's get into it. So, my script, don't look at it. That's my script. Don't look at my script. All right, so the most important thing, in my opinion, about learning a new weapon is that we are able to take time in a controlled space and read and learn everything about the weapon and what it offers. Because not all these weapons are 1000% intuitive friendly. It takes outside knowledge to kind of learn everything that the weapon has to offer. And take it from me, I have tried to just dive into a weapon and not take time to like read under the guides or anything like that that are in the in-game menu. And believe me, I have gone a long time not knowing very important things about weapons, thinking that I knew everything about them. So that is why I believe that this is an important thing to do when we are wanting to explore a new weapon. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about, the Gunlance, has received, in my opinion, some of the most love out of all the weapons in Monster Hunter Wilds. It has become one of my favorites after becoming, and after it has been, not after becoming, but after it has been a weapon that I did touch, and I touched it here and there. But for the most part, this is probably one of my least used weapon types across my experience with the series. But I think that is about to change as the glow up that it has received in Monster Hunter Wilds is tremendous. So the most important part of learning a weapon, bringing up my notes here, don't mind me, is our defensive options, and that's where we are going to start. But first, we are going to cover something that isn't really weapon specific. It's kind of just a recommendation that I have after, as I keep recording these videos and getting more experience with the mechanics in the game, I would suggest, now, holding left trigger initiates focus mode. This allows us to kind of like aim our attacks and show if the monster is wounded or not, and it is quite good. It allows us to fix wrong angles on attacks for certain things. It allows us to gain access to better directional control over our character as well. But holding down that left trigger can get a little painful after you've been doing it for 10 to 15 minutes. So I highly recommend to enable the toggle option underneath the controls. It'll be under the second tab, and it will be you can either, I think by default, it's the hold to activate mode or the toggle to activate mode. With some practice, I have found that I am a huge fan of this toggle option, as I don't need to hold down the left trigger for the entire hunt. And let me tell you, being in focus mode is very helpful. Very, very helpful. indeed. So now we're going to get into these defensive options. So the Gunlance, very much like the Lance, has a very good block mechanic that intertwines with a lot of its kit. This is our main defensive option, is this block. Now we have a perfect block. All things that can block in this game have access to a perfect block if you time your block correctly. We also have a standard dodge. Now the dodge it's pretty short ranged. It has some immunity frames on it, not the best, and certainly not the best distance, but it is good for minor adjustments or getting out of the way ever so slightly if that is all the distance you need. So those are kind of our two basic defensive options. Now I want to cover the block in depth because you'll be doing it a lot. We have a perfect block, and there are things that we can do after our perfect block that are very important to the Gunlance. We're going to turn on Wagon Chan here into smash mode. And you'll see that if we normal block, our options are very limited to what we can do. In fact, there's almost nothing that we can do that we can't just do while just holding block. So after a normal block, excuse me. Sorry, I had to sneeze. Now, holding block, we can do a poke thrust while blocking. We can initiate our Wyvern's Fire. We'll do that in a second. We can also manually reload our gun, and then we can also just go straight into dodges. So our Wyvern's Fire is our big damaging thing. We charge up. We shoot out this big explosion of fire. Now, that's pretty good, but as you can see there, it took a while for it to go off. We land a perfect block, however, which is timing your block very closely before it hits you, not right as it hits you, a little before. Try to be a little early with your timings. See how we can kind of press just ever so slightly before. I might actually be doing it too tight for the example, but trust me, the timings on a lot of dodges and blocks are earlier than you think. Don't try to be too tight with the timing. In my experience, being too tight with the timing, that one was a good example of how early we can be. But trying to be too tight with the timing usually results in missing the window entirely and just getting hit because we do not even have our block up. But if we mistime it, no big deal, as we will just then just block it. So if we're really early, we just block. So no big deal on that part. So after a perfect block, we can go straight into a Wyvern Fire. And as you can see, it explodes way faster. Now, I highly recommend that this is how we gain access to our Wyvern Fires, unless you encounter a massive opportunity to use our Wyvern Fire, like the monster getting knocked out or getting stuck in a trap, what have you. Now, we also have another option out of our perfect block, and that is our overhead smash. Make sure you release the shield button after you want to use the overhead smash, otherwise you will just do a guard thrust. So we perfect block, and we do our overhead slam. Now, we're going to get more into this overhead slam later, but I just want to let you know that that is an option. So those are our two kind of special options that we gain access to after a block or a perfect block. To note, you can also, just like normal blocking, you can go straight into a manual reload if that's what you need at that moment in time. We have a lot of decisions to make and a lot of options after certain actions that we will have to have situational awareness on with our resources when we do things. So, with that being said, we then are going to talk about a little trick that I found messing around with the Gunlance in the practice room. So if we spam dodge in a direction, you can see that it takes up stamina pretty quickly. This is pretty bad for us because we need stamina to block. And if we have just blocked a bunch of attacks in a row and our stamina is looking pretty bad, we can't get off multiple jumps. So what do? We can do directional shelling, which if we hold the direction and hit the B button, we do this little kind of like jostle in a direction. And this works for all the directions. What we can do is, and keep an eye on the stamina bars, we can do this directional, we can dodge, do the directional dodge, do the directional dodge, do the directional dodge. As you can see, our stamina practically remains at the same as what it started, so we have perpetual stamina. This is very good, and it can get you out of some very troublesome situations, because putting away the... Sorry, didn't mean to do that. Putting away our weapon takes not the longest, but it does take a good long while. So if we are stuck in a precarious situation and we need to get out of dodge, we can simply backwards... I'm holding backwards for this, and we can get pretty far away pretty quickly. As you can see, we started almost at the monster, and I still had ammo to go, and we almost exited the room doing this method. So this is very good. Play around with it, get used to it. I personally love using this to reposition around the monster in a very quick fashion. And keep in mind, you are damaging the monster while you're doing this. There's not many weapons that have access to this quick reposition tool and are able to do damage whilst that is occurring. So familiarize yourself with this and be very comfortable with it, because it is what I believe to be a staple of the weapon's abilities. Now, we've talked about all of our perfect block options. We've talked about everything that we can do from a block, and we have talked about our kind of infinite stamina dodge mode. Now, if you run out of ammo, you can just hit B again, and you will do a manual load. Not an actual like manual reload. This is the big reload. This reloads our wyvern steak, or worm steak rather, which we are about to get into. But first, because I forgot to do it in my last video and I had to mention during the commentary, I want to just go over how to destroy wounds. This is a mechanic that is shared across all of the weapons. And again, because we have our toggle wound up, that we will usually have a pretty good idea if the monster has wounds or not. See how you can't see wounds not in focus mode, and now they glow this red color when you do. So to pop wounds, all we need to do is hit the right bumper. In this move, we can kind of move around, and we do this crazy drill attack. Now, if you don't start this attack right on the wound, that's fine, because as you can see, it does a pretty good lunge forward. But if we make contact with the wound, it will start spinning and drilling the wound per se. Now, if we miss the wound entirely, I do believe that nothing happens. And I actually don't think we need to hit a wound. We just need to come into contact with the monster itself. That does seem to be the case. But we don't get the kind of amplified state. See how this special animation, when we can kind of push around if we land on the wound. Meanwhile, if we don't, I don't get any control over my character, and it's just a couple of baby spins. So when we dedicate to this attack, we want to make sure that we have a good window to guarantee that we are stabbing the wound, because the recovery time is not the best. And we do need to make sure, if we look up in the top left, that our worm steak is loaded. You can tell by this little blue symbol next to our bullets that we have a worm steak loaded. If it is empty, then we do not have one loaded. We need a worm steak to do our wound combo. Now, there is a little trick I want to show you with ledges. There are ledges in the game. There are these little like elevations of geography, I should say. And there are some interesting interactions. They totally will never get you killed in this game. As you can see, when you try to do a dodge, you are forced to do this little climbing animation. You are not invincible when you're doing this little climbing animation. But with the lance, if we dodge off of it, we do this little, see, if we just walk off of it, we just kind of fall. But if we dodge towards it, our little hop, we do this little, like, jump up in the air. Now, during this jump up, we can hit the B button and fire all of our shells off in the air. This can create a interesting kind of loop. Did it a little too early there, sorry. This can create an interesting sort of loop as we reload, land, get back on the ledge, jump. So you can see, now I'm not sure how much damage this does or if it's even good, but it is something funny and something pretty cool that I think that the lance has access to. So yeah, keep that in mind. A little niche thing to keep an eye on. If there's any ledges nearby, you can get some cheeky explosion damage by just simply dodging back to the ledge, then dodging off, and then reloading. Now we're gonna go over our combos. Now, the combos with this are fairly flexible. I'll go over the basic Y, and then we do a big swipe, and then we stab in our worm stake. See how we left this thing inside the monster, and it explodes. Now, this can take a while. We don't always get an opportunity to get this full thing off. So, but I'll show you later when we start getting into our shortcuts. We'll find a faster way to access stabbing our worm stake into the monster. Now we're going to do what is probably one of the cooler combos in the game. We're going to do a worm stake full blast combo. And there are multiple ways to gain access to this, but we'll just go ahead and stick with what is in the bottom left for now. We shoot, we do a directional, we do a moving wide sweep after that. So shoot, moving wide sweep, Y and B, we'll stab it in, and then another Y after that, and you will then you'll reload everything as a part of that second swipe, and then spend it all again for a second follow-up series. It's very good, very cool, and very good. Use it for your big windows. And now, a little tip. There's a reason why we want to use, when we get our perfect blocks, we want to be using those windows for after we perfect block something to get off our fast wyvern, our wyvern fires. And then for when the monster is knocked down, because we create these little mini openings after perfect blocking stuff, because sometimes when you perfect block something, you mitigate the knockback so that's non-existent. And typically monsters have a recovery time after big attacks that is almost equal to the amount of pushback that you suffer from blocking something not perfect block. But if you perfect block, you suffer no pushback. So the monster is still recovering, and in that window, we get off a wyvern fire. And then when we get our knockdowns, we don't need to use our wyvern fires during those windows. We can do the cool full blast combo. Now there's also the burst fire combo. This is a good example of what not to do. Don't accidentally hit worm fire because, or wyvern's fire, because you will not be able to move. There's no canceling it once you have started it. It is full send. So now we have our burst fire combo. Let's go ahead and reload here. So we have a few ways to get into the burst fire combo as well, but we will go back over that when we go through our combos. But we're going to go ahead and stick with the way that's in the bottom left. So YB, Y for the overhead slam, and then you hit B to burst fire. This fires all of the shells that you have loaded into your lance. Now, remember from our perfect block, we can do overhead slams, right? We can follow that up with burst slam, or our full burst, or burst fire, sorry. The name has changed, maybe I've just never called it the right thing. So that's another staple of how we do a quick damage through openings. Let's say we want to close the gap against the monster. We're going to hold Y. We can do lunging up thrust, which we can then follow up with an overhead slam, which is Y and B. And then after that, we can then hit B to do the burst fire. Thank you, Wagon Chan, for hitting me in the face. So now that I have shown that off, let's go ahead and turn Wagon Chan off because I just want to really quickly show you some different ways to gain access to your combos. So, the worm stake combo, pretty long, not ideal if we... What if we want a quick worm stake? What if we don't have time to sit through 4 melee attacks? Well, we can do a directional shell, which is just holding a direction and shelling, or we can do just a standard standing still shelling. And then we follow that up with Y. Do a moving swipe, and then we stab, and that is the quickest way to access your worm stake. It's the way that I like to do it. I preferably when I have a big opening, I like to do the full blast combo and not the worm stake combo. But if I see a quick opening, I like to do the moving wide sweep and then stick in the worm stake and then manually reload. Now we're going to go to the same way, we can also access our worm stake combo the same way. That was the original combo we saw of it. But there is a different way to get to our worm stake combo, and that is after an overhead slam. We do a wide sweep after that, and then we initiate our worm stake combo. Now, there is something very special about our worm stake combo. I don't know if you caught it paying attention to the top right, but this is another reason why this is, in my opinion, the recommended way. If you're not comfortable with perfect blocking and getting your wyvern fires off after perfect blocks, if you're not comfortable doing it that way, you can always wait for a big opportunity. Go for your worm stake combo or your worm stake full blast combo. And then after we've done this entire combo, you can hit Wyvern Fire, and it will be the faster version of it. So if you're not comfortable with doing it from the perfect blocks, you can do it at the end of the full blast combo. And with that, I think that's about it. Oh, one more thing to cover. This is why we have notes. We can charge our shelling. So we have access to our shelling. We can do our manual move arounds. And then we can hold our shelling. Let's say, and I believe... So this is kind of for moments... I believe that these are for moments when you're unsure of what the monster's kind of doing. Let's say you're behind it. You don't know if it's going to turn around or not. You can just be charging your shelling and then let it go. It does good damage, I will say. It's not the... I do believe that doing it that way, you can, sorry, I'm getting lost in my thoughts here. So every time you hear this little click noise, you are charging a shell. So let's say you used 2 shells to get into position, then you started charging. You only need to wait to hear 4 because you only had 4 shells. So again, this is just another way of doing damage. Shells are explosions, so you don't need to hit a weak spot for them to do their maximum damage. Or to do orange numbers, I should say, not their maximum damage. And I think that's it. Just gonna check my notes here real quick. Yeah, that's it. So that covers the full weapon breakdown. If all you wanted was the weapon breakdown, thank you for coming. If you would like to see this all in action and start coming up with your own ideas of what you would do and what you wouldn't do, then we will go ahead and hop into the live commentary hunt. But for those of you who just wanted the full weapon breakdown, thank you for coming by, and I hope you enjoy the full release of Monster Hunter Wilds. So for the hunters who are here to watch this glorious display of Gunlance. First, I would ask you to excuse my facial expressions. I get a little locked in when I'm doing these. There's a lot of brain faculties moving around all at the same time as I try to explain what I am doing or explain what I plan to do while I am doing it, and then me being kind of new to all of it as well. So I can kind of go a little zombie mode, if you will. But I'll try to keep my commentary as educational as possible, mentioning the things that I'm kind of thinking about doing or doing. Go ahead and start the quests. We're going to make sure we eat. I had one of these. My food ran out in the middle of it, and this thing does not exactly hit lightly once we have pissed it off. So you can imagine that caught a random one shot. And it didn't feel good, and I wasn't very appreciative of it. I'm gonna sit down, eat. Just kidding. I think I've done that in almost every recording. I hit the A button too soon to interact with the menu, and I just end up rolling. Excuse me. All right, we're fooded up. Got our items fully stocked. Everything's looking great for a positive hunting environment. Now all we need to do is hope and pray that the Alpha Doshaguma cooperates and gives me a good showing of this weapon and doesn't beat me up like a schoolyard bully. Start off by pooing. Even the Fellowship itself could be disbanded with a large dung pod. As you can tell, these three very close. We don't want them to be hunting together, so we shoot them with a large dung pod. I'm going to go ahead and throw on my ghillie mantle so I can guarantee that I can sneak up on this guy and do the new sneak attacks that they have added in Monster Hunter Wilds. Sneak attack initiated. And follow that up with a moving swipe. Could have blocked that. We're going to go ahead and overhead slam. Overhead slam. Perfect block. Okay, he doesn't like the fire. The fire can cause these monsters to freak out, so to speak. I'm going to hold block here. Now we've initiated a power clash because we've been getting perfect blocks. We are going to go forward, stick him with the worm stake. Try to get a perfect block there. Full burst. Reload. Full burst. Reload. Now I'm going to be following up these perfect blocks with the overhead slams, which gives us quick access into the full burst. Now I want to try to get a perfect blocked wyvern fire. If he would be so kind to hit me with an attack that I can do that after. This is the wrong opportunity to do it. Oh, we got lucky. If that attack did not flinch him, we would have gotten smacked in the mouth, so to speak. We're going to go for a quick worm stake here. Looks like we have the opportunity. We missed. That's okay. He's going for our cat. And now he's angry. So we need to be a little more careful. He just seems to be in love with my cat. Gonna go for the wyvern fire. Gonna block. We were still in the recovery of our wyvern fire, which is why we got hit there. Reload. Now, I really want to try to get that wound that's on his head, but it's a bit precarious. That full burst got us hit there. Manual reload. for a quick stake as he's distracted by my cat. Go ahead and recharge it to get it back. Go for some charge shelling here. Make sure we block. It's okay if we don't get a perfect block. Ooh, we should not have committed to that. Luckily for us, he kind of chills out after certain attack strings. We're going to do a full reload here. And he is exhausted. So I'm going to try to go for a mount. And that's just because it's a little easier to mount monsters. The Gunlance is not the great mounter. It's not the greatest mounter. But it gets the job done. We actually gonna opt to not fight two things at once. Not that good at the game. Not yet, anyway. Send them on their merry little way, and we will follow him wherever his little heart desires. So let's take stock of what we have been doing. We've been using our Wyvern Fire. We've been using our full burst. We've been using our moving slash into the worm stake. We have yet to find an opportunity to do our full burst combo, or not the full burst combo, but the Wyvern full burst, long combo thing. We actually might have an opportunity to do it here. So let's go ahead and do swipe. Nope. He accidentally did the Wyvern stake. That's okay. Try one more time just to get the first part of it. Okay, so that's the one that we were trying to do. Gonna do this to reposition. See if we can get the first part of it there. We did. Okay, he seems to be struggling here. This might be a good opportunity for it. And then follow it with the Wyvern Fire. Boom. Knocks him over. That was perfect. Couldn't have asked for a better opportunity. So now we can manually reload and probably do it again. Swipe number 2. And another Wyvern Fire. Boom. Okay. There we go. Now that's what we're talking about. That's the damage we like to see. Understandably so, he's very mad now. We're gonna initiate another Power Clash because we're getting pretty good with our perfect blocks here. We're gonna move in for the swipe, full blast and stab. And he said, actually, you know what? After what you did to me, I will be leaving. And who could blame him? I would also try to get away from the psychopath with the exploding lance. Oh, he's eating. Well, we can't have that. I think now it's a good time. I wanted to go for that mount earlier, but we didn't need to, as we had access to a vine trap. But now that there's nothing really to interact here, there's no boulders or anything like that, we can try to go for a mount. Now, we have to get a couple of attacks while we're on our secret. It seems like we got it. So we're going to hop around using our Y button to stab and create wounds. And whenever he tries to shake you off, he's only trying to shake off that spot. So you can move around with the left analog stick, go to different parts of the monster. And then once you see a red wound, I like to make 3 wounds, but you really only need to make 1. You can then use right bumper to initiate your finisher, which will leave the monster pretty worse for wear. We're gonna do full burst, reload, swipe, stab, stab, Wyvern Fire, kaboom. Stuff, long recovery on that, manual reload. Again, he's gonna opt to leave after receiving his beatdown. And he's going to go straight into another vine trap. So, I mean, why not? You know? Of course we're gonna do it. I need him to come over here, though. I don't think he knows that we're around. Uh-oh. The raptors are loose. Wow, that lightning bolt? Okay, we don't... I've sat on top of fire for an entire combo before, and let me tell you, it frickin' hurt. I want to gain access to that wound. Don't know if the game's gonna let me. We might have to get it on the next knockdown. You gonna do a follow-up? Again. Ooh, dodge right into that. Don't like the amount of health I'm sitting at. We're gonna dive because I don't want to die. He's standing up, so I'm just gonna go ahead and let him figure it out, whatever it is he wants to do over there. There's a nice juicy wound for us to pop, but we really need to... This is the opportunity. I think we'll go for it after this. See if we get lucky. We do. Walk forward, stick it in, explode it. Gonna do some movement to get out of that fire there. Manual reload. Wait for the second one. And there will be a third one, of which we can do a wyvern fire after. Go boom. He did not like that whatsoever. Get closer here. Get all of our ammunition back. And off to the races he goes. He just does not want to stay in one spot for very longer. Take these opportunities traveling between spots to make sure you're not missing any health. You can recover small portions of it with your normal potions. Believe me, having full health is a massive difference between starting with 70 or 60%. Let's go ahead and eat a ration, sharpen our weapon. There's a lot of things that we can be doing while we are traveling in between these locations. You could be thinking about, is there anything that I'm not doing? I think I'm actually doing a pretty good job of remembering all the things that this new Gunlance can do. I think the only thing I haven't done is just a full Y combo, but from just hunting, it's just not for me per se. Not to say that it's bad. I just much prefer using the movement shelling and then doing the moving swipe to go into my shorter combos. I'm gonna go for the leg here. He didn't like that. Manual reload, because we're missing most of our stuff. I'm gonna go for... We don't have anything here, so I'm just gonna go for some full charged shells. Wound on the leg. Pop goes the head. Oh my god. He came back swinging. Going to heal up. We get hit very hard by this creature, so even being at that small amount of health... Go ahead and give him a wyvern steak. Oh, we didn't have one loaded. That's gonna happen, but I'm surprised it hasn't been happening more. Well, he's limping away. The hunt is coming to a close, but not too close of a close. This thing actually has a lot of fight left in it when it starts limping away. I'm going to be using my traps for when we arrive at its abode. We also get to do a very fun Gunlance thing, waking up monsters from their peaceful sleep with explosions. Looking forward to that. It's one of the... Believe me, it's one of the reasons why I love playing this weapon. He will stop here for a little bit. I don't think we're going to be able to kill him here. I will drop a quick shock trap, just so that we can do a worm steak full blast combo. That's what it's called. Charge the Wyvern Fire. Boom. Very mad. I'm going to see if I can go for a drill here. Looks like we were pretty lucky with not getting hit there. Reload. We're going to move out of the way of that with a swipe. Get closer. Manual reload that. Boom. Full burst. Reload. Move closer with our swipes. Go for the head. First hit of the burst combo. He's going to come swinging back at me. Boom. Use this opportunity for a full burst. Boom. Swipe. Load. Get closer. Ooh, little paw swipe. Oh my god, I thought... Okay, so that was the follow-up. Looks like our cat's going to bail us out here. We're going to go ahead and just top ourselves off. We're going to give him a chase back to his abode. I believe he's going to his abode this time. Or he'll continue to never go to his abode, and I'll be very sad because I will not get to do my special explosion wake-up breakfast attack. And I really want to do it. Hey, chill out, you. I'll get to you later. You're another series. Put our Ghillie Mantle on. Now, do note that in Monster Hunter Wilds, we have to kind of hang back a little bit to follow monsters into their area of peace and calm, as they actually do a little check around before going to sleep. Not a long one, mind you, but... So now, it's very important that when a monster is sleeping peacefully, that you place barrels of explosions right next to its face. You then make sure that you create a pitfall trap off to the side so that you can lure that into it after it wakes up nice and mad. Now, because we have our Wyvern Fire ready, we're going to get close to the monster. We're going to let it charge up, and Bob's your uncle. Big damage. It's going to yell, because I can't imagine anyone would be happy with that. We're going to make sure we get a full reload off. We're going to do the quick version of the worm steak combo. I'm going to make sure I aim towards the monster. Kaboom! And that's the hunt! Wow, what a great finish that was. Classic textbook Gunlance. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? Oof. Love me some Gunlance, man. I love what they have done to it in Monster Hunter Wilds. So I hope you've all have enjoyed this live commentary demonstration section with the weapon. And with the things that you have learned across this whole video, I hope you can now begin to draw your own thoughts and conclusions on the weapon. And I hope that we all take the time to not worry about what's the best, what's the strongest, you know, meta this, meta that, and just enjoy this game, because these games do not come out every other day. So don't rush through it. Take your time, explore, learn what you like, learn what you don't like, and overall just have fun with the game, because this is one of my favorite game series of all time. I have strengthened many of friendships through playing this game. I've even made good friends while playing through this game, or these games, sorry. And I think that's what I want for everyone. I want everyone to find good friendships, find good memories, and just enjoy Monster Hunter for what it is. If I missed anything in this video, or you have any tips of your own on the Gunlance, please let me know down in the comments. And if you got anything from this video, feel free to leave a like. That's all for now, and as always, I hope you've had a great day, or have a great day. Sorry, that was awkward.